Hey everyone, welcome to our webinar on how to use AI to identify high potential leads faster. I know this time of year is so hectic, so thanks for joining us today. And before we get started, quick heads up, this session is being recorded, so if you need to step away or want to rewatch anything, you'll get the recording later. And with that, no more delays. Let me introduce our guest speaker today, Liana Hakobyan, Marketing Strategy Lead at Iris.ai. Hey, Liana, thanks for joining me today.
Hi, Lucina. Nice to meet you again, and thanks for the invitation to be here.
Thanks for joining
Yeah.
us. Would you kick us off by sharing a little about your background and what excites you about AI-powered marketing?
Yeah, of course. So let's get started because I'm super excited to spend my Wednesday afternoon talking about the experimentations and passionate things I'm right now actually involved in. And as you already mentioned today, Lucina, the topic is going to be how we can, as a marketeers and also salespeople, use AI to identify high potential leads faster. So everything that I'm going to talk today, I try to make it as practical as possible because that's something I really love. As you see in the AI space, there are a lot of like general ideas and general topics where people are feeling lost and they don't know where to get started. That's the reason today I really want us to get started with step-by-step action items. So that's the reason, that's what we are going to be focused today.
Thanks so much, Liana. By the way, folks, Liana will actually share the workflow that helped her team achieve 45% faster research, 80% more complete profiles, and 5 times more personalization in just 3 months. And yeah, also we'll leave some time at the end for Q&A, so get your questions ready about lead enrichment, automations, personalization, anything related to turning leads into opportunities. The examples in the workflow that Liana is going to share will be for webinar leads, but you can apply the same workflow for your any inbound leads you get for newsletter signups, lead magnets, etc., like anything. And before we dive into the workflow, let's set our first poll today to get to know your current challenges with webinar leads. Actually, okay, let me start the poll. Here you go. So, what's your biggest challenge with webinar leads? Do you have too many leads, not enough time? The engagement data doesn't flow to CRM, you have some integration problems, leads feel cold no matter what, or you don't know where to start. Okay, leads feel cold. I actually think like I love the first one. Too many leads is almost like a good problem to have, right?
In some situations, I will
Yeah.
say. There are some challenges as well there, of course.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think we have a clear winner here. Leads feel cold no matter what. And I
okay.
think we're going to talk about this during the webinar, during this webinar as well, like how to start the warm conversations with those leads. So, without any further ado, let's start our workflow, Liana. The stage is
Perfect.
yours. I'll mute myself.
Amazing. Thanks, Lucina. So this is actually interesting, a good starting point because it shows as well a problem that occurs between the bridge connection of marketing team and sales team. So that's the reason that a lot of you can see why the leads are still cold is the smooth integration, how the marketing processes need to influence the sales team that we will also discuss actually during this webinar. So let me take over the presentation again. Just before head starting everything, I just want to say thank you to Contrast for inviting me. It's just great to be part of your community, guys. And I just love your webinar, and I'm super excited to, again, present something that will be valuable for your audience.
Thanks for joining us and presenting all your workflows.
Yeah. So as we know why you are here, right? What value I want to bring to you. So I want to share with you my thought process that can inspire you to create and advance your own processes as well today. All of the things I'm doing right now are part of the experimentations as well. So just a sneak peek. At the end, I'm going to show you some experimentation I'm right now actually building. And this whole process is bringing a lot of value to our team right now, and we want to expand on it a lot because lead generation, lead research, and actually lead nurturing are a key in all the processes in marketing and sales. So why you need to count on my expertise? Just who I am. As Lucina mentioned, I'm right now marketing strategy lead at Iris. At Iris, we are focused on data unification platform where actually you can create also agentic workflows. And one unique thing we have is LLM optimization. So just a bit of a self-promotion from my end. But I also have a AI habit marketing series that every month I try to post some habit that I'm integrating in the marketing activities that I am interested in, such as the competition analysis, market research, and going forward with other activities like lead research that we are going to discuss today. So going to the topic, but I just like always stepping back and think a bit of a bigger picture, why we want to do a lead research. So it's a very big and essential part of the lead generation process. Here you can see a bit more like a process in the B2B market space that I like using. This is an internal framework that I developed. So essentially, in order to understand lead research and improve the lead research, the other steps are also important. So whatever I do, I start always with the internal analysis and planning. It's important to understand your data in a proper way and find patterns there as well to see with whom you want to interact, how is your audience, and where is the sweet spot you want to kind of target. Then you mix up the internal research with external research, that the topics I covered, kind of the competition analysis, the market research. And then it actually develops these two things together and helps to push the lead segmentation. So you want to understand whom you want to target and who is your audience, basically. And then it's interconnected with the lead research. And then afterwards, you can create a personalized content flow and connect the flow together. So it's more personalized to your audience. And of course, during this whole process, I like doing optimization and reporting, and every stage has its own KPIs. So going forward to our lead research, it's also very important to get some additional data that can support the lead research. So in marketing, we like to classify some segmentation. So we do demographics, of course, firmographics, which is related to more company information, like you are getting the company size, company industry, revenue, or company news, merger and acquisition. So these are the data that you nurture in firmographics usually. And then you have, of course, behavioral cohorts that you are creating that I have special tools here mentioned that I use as well. And also you have psychographic segmentation. So all of this actually helps to improve the lead understanding and the lead research as well as a supporting thing of the process that I'm going to show you today. But I want you and the audience to think a bit bigger about who is your lead. Don't only think and consider demographic information, but really in this age, try to also get the firmographics, behavioral and psychographics, so it can help you to shape the information about the leads in a better way. So going to the lead research and what I like doing. So here, if you see the photo, actually, if you recognize that Seth Godin, he's the godfather of marketing, and I just really appreciate whatever he says and contributes in the marketing sphere. One idea that he has, it's basically called permission marketing. So you want to get a permission from the person to actually contact them, to give more important information to them. And it's on our marketing idea and research that we want to have a personal connection with the user to give them as relevant information as needed. That's why this lead research process that I have developed, inspired by a lot of other external sources, is actually influencing to provide our user, our lead, a very nice flow. So they are engaged and they find our content valuable as well. So then later on, they come and convert to become a customer. So essentially, there is a very interesting statistics that right now you can see in the market. B2B and B2B sphere specifically, sales representatives spend almost 88% of their time doing lead research. And I think a lot of times in the companies, this role needs to be also reliant on the marketing team. If the marketing team gathers all these data automatically and actually polishes them, makes the data very structured for the sales team to spend less time on the lead research, it will be more efficient for the whole process. In the marketing and sales sphere, we like right now calling S marketing, sales and marketing together. So essentially, even at Iris, when we work, Lucina, for example, at our own processes, we always like kind of connecting the marketing processes with the sales. So seeing this whole customer journey together and how it's actually influencing the product at the end. So this process is also inspired by that because we wanted essentially to connect this lead research to the sales team and do a proper sales handover. So, and going quickly, just why this matters, because as again, just a reminder, as I told you, it helps us for segmentation, to understand our leads better, to segment them better, to prioritize them better, and to see from our team how much time we want to spend on each resource. So it brings also important value and conversion afterwards for the lead nurturing process. So we are starting from my favorite part already, more practical part where I will show you how we're actually doing this. This
One
is, yeah,
question, Liana.
sure.
Sorry for interrupting.
Mhm.
I have a quick question here. Do we need help from engineers or marketing ops to replicate your playbook, or is this something a regular marketer can set up just by following the steps?
This is an amazing question. So I want always to create things that I believe that marketeers who don't have a so strong technical experience, they can just immediately replicate. That's exactly why I started also the AI habit, because I know how technically difficult are some things to implement. So I want to make sure that all the processes I can showcase, marketeers who don't have so much technical experience, they can replicate. That is one of the reasons actually I'm using make.com in this process rather than N8N, because both of them are amazing tools. And also, I remember one of your team members, I think, commented, let's use N8N.
Yeah.
But one of the things is N8N, it has a lot of flexibility. However, I think it's harder to start with than make.com. That's why everything right now I will show you is very easy to replicate if you don't have a technical background.
Okay. Thanks
Mhm.
for
And
clarifying.
another maybe a valuable point here, every time I talk to my audience, and my audience are mostly marketeers, I like talking with their language. I like bringing even this technical part step by steps as I will do a marketeer and connect, as you understood, like with demographics, firmographics, so that they have a better idea how this leads and sets in their own processes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thanks.
perfect. So in order to create this infrastructure for the lead research, what we need? Essentially, we need four things. One is a trigger source. For now, as a use case, as an example, we are going to use a webinar sign up form. But again, as also Lucina in front of the webinar mentioned, we can use anything like a HubSpot forms for like a landing pages, for the offers, for the product landing pages. Just the idea is that you collect the data in one place. It can be Google Forms as well, MailChimp, doesn't matter essentially. But as an example, I'm going to use HubSpot because I'm just in love with HubSpot marketing actually suite. It gives me all the opportunities to use for the landing page creation and then the forms and then connecting all the dots in marketing together, starting from the campaigns and then starting from social media posts, all of that. I just like HubSpot in that sphere because it centralizes all the marketing processes. So the second thing is a research agent. So right now, the agent that I'm using is actually from Ben AI. Ben AI is an AI agency. So they developed this research agent with Relevance AI. Relevance AI is a platform where you can go and create different agents. However, I want to let you know that make.com also this year released their beta version of creating agents. So essentially, you can also create your agents in make.com too. But I like using Ben AI's agent because it gives actually comprehensive information about the lead. And then we use an automation platform. So right now we are going to use make.com as an example, but you can easily replicate this in N8N as well, because the flow is quite simple, it's quite straightforward, and you can just find the same modules and triggers also in N8N. And data destination is basically, again, I'm going to use HubSpot because it's our CRM right now at Iris as well. And usually before even Iris, I used HubSpot and I just love it for now. But you can also use Google Sheet as your data destination. So these are like 4 points going forward. So the steps I'm doing basically. the first step is building the form in HubSpot. So I'm going to HubSpot and then creating my form. I like keeping it very short. Because users don't have so much time also giving their data. They don't really want to give their data as well. So many times just users are giving their data for the white papers if you want demos. So we want to keep it short as well so they can fill our form as quick as possible. So we just need their first name, last name, and their email. Preferably, actually, recently we started using the company email because we are in B2B sphere. But if you are in the B2C space, so just getting email, it's fine. Like it can be a personal email as well. So, and then with this information, what happens? The second step is building the lead research agent. And as I told you, I already use the agent that is created and provided by Ben.ai. So that agent that they built, the team built, it already covers. After you fill out the name and email, it can find for you a lead LinkedIn profile, company LinkedIn profile, job title, company size, company industry, number of employees at the company, and it also creates a small lead summary and a small company summary. So just after providing the name, surname, and email, after putting in this agent, basically this information gathers there. And just going forward, I want to give you one thing that I'm now experimenting with. As I told you, in make.com, you can also create your agents. So right now we are also at our team trying to create different agents, like for the content creation. And also right now we are creating for market research agent. So I want to combine the relevance AI agent that Ben.ai already has together with make.com agent for market research to get more firmographic information. So essentially, this market agent does and gathers the information like a company size, company industry, company growth, company news, and also gives like a small market summary for me and small company summary. And in this market research agent, I mentioned the sources where I want the agent go and find this information. And the sources like Crunchbase, which actually gives a lot of information about merger and acquisitions, market research, and the growth. That part is quite nicely covered. So, but this is something that I'm right now experimenting with because I really understood that it's also important to understand the stage of the company because of understanding the lead's intent, why they are reaching out to you. So you can also give more personalized journey for the lead, basically.
We got a question about the topic. This lead researcher tool runs behind the form or
Yeah.
no? Do you know?
So after this, I will show you the process and you will understand how it runs. But basically, once a person fills the form, the automation, all these connections happens with make.com. So right now, after that, after we know the agent and we created the agent, we go to interface of make.com. So the first things we do, as you see here, I'm gonna go step by step. So if someone wants to copy this process immediately, they can go and play around make.com. First of all, just to say something about make, it's quite user friendly. Why we use it? Because it's nice both for the marketing team to use and for tech team to use. And it gives a lot of capabilities as N8N. And it's quite cost efficient, I will say. So the first plans, I think around like €20, if I'm not mistaken, the basic plans. But then you can, of course, understand how many processes, scenarios in make.com. It's called scenario, like the specific process you want to create. But you can just immediately go and try it out if you want. So essentially, we go here and you see the interface of make.com. And then when you see this plus sign here, you want to connect first your trigger, as we talked before. And the trigger, let's say, is the webinar form. And you created this form in HubSpot. So when you click here, and then in the search menu, you just search HubSpot, you can find here what submission form. So that's the part that you need to add. Once you add it, what does it mean at make.com? So once someone fills your form, it automatically will give to this process. And then the process will start finding information about that person who filled your form, basically. So here you can see, once we added HubSpot CRM, you will see here form ID. In the form ID, once you connected your own HubSpot, you will see the list of all your forms actually. So it just you need to select the one that you want. It's quite easy to configure this. So then you select the form ID, the one that you actually want to automate. After that, it opens up this process. So what you do, you choose the starting point. So you want to start from now on because maybe you started the campaign right now, or you can also select specific date, or just choose manually. But you put it, for example, for now, for this example, I just choose from now on. And after that, so we connected the first module. Usually in make.com, these small circles you see, this called module. So we connected the HubSpot CRM, which is helping to see the watch submission of the form. And the second step we want to do, we want to connect the agent. So right now, in order to connect the agent from Ben.ai, we need HTTP module. So when you go here, you again search HTTP because there is a lot of list of things you can connect in make.com. Specifically, you can connect your Google Sheets, you can connect basically your Slack or the tools you're using the most. So then you connect HTTP and make a request. That's actually the tagline you need to remember to use. Make a request, HTTP. So then again, we go here. So when you get the Ben.ai's created relevance AI agent, you will see this interface. So from this interface, what happens, and I will add the link actually, Lucine, to you, so you can send people who are watching right now the webinar, so they can immediately download this agent and immediately start working with the agent. So they will see this interface. So what happens, they go here and then you can see use. When you click on use, then you can see here, it opens up exactly like what sources and where this agent goes and finds the information about the specific person who submitted their information in your form. And then this agent gives like information that you need to fill in make.com. So you connect relevance AI with HTTP to make.com. So after that, you immediately connect HTTP. So the third module that comes is HubSpot CRM. So that's when you want to update your information and send back to HubSpot. So essentially, the step we did. Step one, we connected our form. Step two, we connected our agent that is built already. So you don't even need to build it. But if you want to advance your agent, you can see how Ben.ai created it. You can see what areas you want to add as well. And then you can update it. And then after that, we connect our HubSpot CRM and we select update a contact. So what does essentially mean? It finds exactly about what contact the information has been found and it immediately updates in your CRM. So the same scenario can work, for example, if you connect your Google Sheet. So if you don't have HubSpot, let's say if you're a small team, because right now HubSpot, a lot of companies are using for more medium or enterprise level. But let's imagine that you are a small team, you just want to start it out. You can have a Google Sheet. So you can substitute HubSpot CRM with Google Sheet, easy. And then you put again your information in rows and columns, and the update of the contact will be updated in the Google Sheet. And the HTTP is staying the same. So it's basically the agent, but you are sending the information instead of HubSpot, you are using, let's say, Google Sheet. Or you can also use other providers, depending, of course, what your CRM is or what source you want to update. So continuing this, I want to now show you some advancements that I'm doing. So this is something I like. I always try to integrate and find exciting things, but I want to add something on my own as well, like how to improve based on our own scenario. Because you always remember that even every process can be similar to in the organizations, but because your audience is different, your team is different, your company size is different, maybe sometimes you need some tailoring and customization of the automations based on your own needs. So that's the reason right now I'm trying to improve this process and advance it more. So in this process, Lucina and our lovely audience, what you can see. So the process exactly starts the same. So we have the HubSpot CRM, we connected our submission form, and then in make.com you have a router. So you can create this in order to separate the workflow. So, and then what we do here is, as you see, the other workflow stays the same as we did. We connected relevance AI agents with HTTP, and then we have that agent. But I also want to connect the agent that I built in make.com. So they run parallel researches. So Make AI agent finds more firmographic information, and Relevance AI agent finds more individual-based information. And then one thing that I love right now using is automated lead scoring in HubSpot. So if you're not aware, just to give you more context, whenever you have lead and whenever you have information about lead, in HubSpot, you have an opportunity to create your own lead scoring. So you can identify, for example, if this person engaged with our social media posts or visited this webinar's landing page 5 times, that I'm giving 6 score, let's say, to this lead. And then specifically, you can create this scoring and then multiply, and then you can have a automated lead score to your marketing lead, and then segment them based on high value lead, medium level lead, low medium lead, let's say. And after doing this segmentation, yeah, this is
Yeah. Sorry
yeah,
for jumping in. I
yeah,
just wanted to run a quick poll for the
yeah,
lead
sure.
research part and then move on to the
Mhm.
scoring. I just wonder how our audience is currently enriching their leads. So I'll run this quick poll. Let's see if they're doing it manually. They use like tools like Clay, Zoom Info, or other tools, or they have fully automated with AI. They don't enrich them. Okay, I see a lot of them. They
It's
don't enrich
interesting.
them, or they use tools like Clay, Zoom. Okay, that's pretty interesting. Um, for the okay, we have a winner, I think. It's the tools like Clay, Zoom Info, and stuff. There,
Mhm.
I think these tools are pretty effective, but like no one can deny that. But let's be honest, I think something like Clay, for example, is incredibly powerful, but it's also very expensive and so complex that half of the time you need to hire an agency or a specialist to build the workflow you thought you could build yourself when you were purchasing the tool. I know like lots of examples like this. A lot of marketers, they just like buy Clay and then they're stuck, they don't know what to do. So you need to consider switching or just trying automating with AI and following the steps that Liana just presented.
This is an interesting observation, actually, from your side, because I see as well when I talk with a lot of marketing and sales teams, they use Clay. Even someone actually on LinkedIn texted me when he saw the webinar. He said, "Are we going to talk about Clay in the webinar?" And I said, "No, not today." But again, like there comes again this information.
Yeah.
But I would love to know actually as well if the audience is watching right now and using Clay, you can just reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm curious to know your experience about lead enrichment via Clay. Because it's interesting. I think Clay is mostly used for medium and enterprise level clients, customers, but it's interesting if someone is using in a small team as well.
Yep. Okay.
Perfect.
Let's
You
move
need
on.
to send me also this data. It's because it's very
Oh,
interesting to see this live data immediately.
sure.
Perfect. So, yeah, continuing the process. So we use this, and this is amazing. I just want to say again, not to promote HubSpot a lot, but I just find it very useful, and it centralizes all the information about leads, and it again helps to connect marketing and sales teams work together. So I would suggest, if you haven't used the automated lead scoring at HubSpot, just go and try it out.
Yeah, I want to add
Mhm.
something here,
Mhm.
specifically for webinar leads,
Yeah.
because this is where a lot of teams can get way more value with almost zero extra effort. When you are trying to figure out which webinar leads deserve attention first, you really want to combine two things: engagement scoring, what they did, and fit scoring, who they are. And most people only look at fit, like director at X
Mhm.
company, but someone can have the perfect job title and still have zero interest. On the other hand, someone with a slightly less perfect title who stayed the entire webinar, asked a question, and like clicked on resources you shared, that person is hot. So for webinar leads specifically, you can break them into really like clear buckets, which are like passive observers who registered but didn't show up, mildly engaged. Maybe
Mhm.
they watched the
Yeah.
replay of your webinar or joined live but left early, and they watched like less than 50% of your webinar, and highly engaged. These are people who
Mm.
attended live, stayed most of the time, asked questions, answered polls, clicked links, and I actually added some examples of how you can score your webinar leads in my webinar guide. I'll share it quickly in the chat. This simple shift will make your like follow up way smarter, because instead of treating all registrants the same, you're letting the behavior tell you how interested they are. And then when you combine this with fit, and you score them, things like job title, company size, like industry, whatever, you get a really accurate picture of who is actually worth reaching out to right now. And what's more important, you can use score thresholds to automatically like trigger workflows. For example, anyone like above, let's say 30 points, send directly to sales with
Yeah.
all engagement data, or anyone between 10 to 29, drop into a short nurture sequence, etc., etc. This way, your sales team always gets the like hottest leads, and your marketing nurture stays relevant without any manual sorting.
I absolutely agree with you because that's something actually we're pushing right now in our team as well. And we also want to have like this hyper personalization approach. So essentially, we want to even create right now, it's a very big trend, and there are a lot of tools competing real time personalization on your website. So
Mhm.
understanding who is actually visiting your website, clustering this audience, and changing the content based on the visitor real time. So there are different tools like Opus. There is a Opus Monkey, I think, that is doing it. There are different tools that I can send you actually as well.
They
But
are
it's
like
so
AI
interesting to
tools.
see. Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
OptiMonk. It's called
interesting.
OptiMonk, the tool
Okay.
that is doing it. So that also really helps to give this personalized
Mhm.
approach because it's doing like a behavioral segmentation.
Yeah, that's so important. Like,
Yeah.
because I see a lot, like when they want to follow up after the webinar, you just get
Yeah.
an email saying, "Oh, I saw you attended our webinar." Okay, so what?
Yeah, so most of the time you receive like that type of a bit of a lame messages, and you are like you don't know what to do and the actions. But if the flow is interesting, you will engage with the audience and with tool, and then uh, if you take in the right flow, basically.
True.
But just continuing on this topic, actually, the next slide is more connected to the sales handover. That's exactly kind of things you mentioned as well.
Mhm.
So what we want to do once we have this segmentation and understanding like where this lead belongs to, we want to nurture them in the right way. So there are a lot of possibilities, a lot of automation flows we have, like depending on the score of the lead, either you want to promote maybe more the newsletter signups. So for example, after the webinar, if this person is not so much interacting, but still you want to keep this person, this lead in your community, in your network, you can promote more passive things for them, like follow your LinkedIn if you're a B2B company, or follow your other social media, like for example, or just sign up for a newsletter. Because this way you still capture the lead and keep them nurturing in a different process. And then, for example, if you have more high level leads, you try to have more maybe aggressive sales or more direct sales. So you want to hand it over to the sales team. So the sales team like nurtures them in the right way and then finds out the intent. Maybe it's the right them to use this tool and buy this tool. So all of that, it's very important as well. And why this lead research is essentially again important is because you might actually lose people because someone can be very high quality lead for you and highly involved right now that moment, and if you don't do any action and you leave the lead even for a few weeks, for a few uh, months, then you're just going to lose this lead. The same comes from if you have like even events interactions, right? After events, for example, you still put these people in HubSpot and try to make these automated flows, but it's also very important to capture their intention, even when you are having a personal touch. For example, from my experience, we have participated in our company for a few conferences, and it was important for us to automate that process as well. Because when you are in the conferences and events, it's so crazy because you're having so many interactions and you are meeting so many people, you just forget about them. And it's very important to automate that, capture them, try to immediately understand if this leads is high quality or no, so you can have appropriate follow up with them.
That's a very interesting topic for
Yeah,
in-person events. I think we need to do another
yeah.
session for this to see how you're automating this.
Yeah, because it's very interesting. We have been part of World Summit AI and then Dubai, and now we're going for other events. And we are getting quite a high qualified leads from there too, especially because we are in the B2B sphere. But it's important to understand how to automate it. And there are a lot of now tricks in event automation, how you can do a similar, because webinars are, of course, important and they're online, and then you get their data on the spot. But then events are different kind of tactics and different
Yeah.
strategy you need to involve there. So I'm more than happy to talk about
Yeah,
that
you
as
need to
well.
write your next AI habit about this.
Yeah, about it. Maybe it will be interesting for others to watch, to
Yeah.
read as well. Yeah. So, but that's something big because actually there is statistical data done that people are gonna interact and participate in more events. And this year actually was booming, and next year is gonna be booming more. But you kind of want to automate that more as well. So we can, of course, discuss that. But coming back to like step 5, and I think you wanted also maybe to add some interesting things here for the sales team handover. But essentially, what we want to do, we want to direct specific events lead to a specific salesperson. So what you can do when you can connect with Slack. And if it's your, let's say, company's place for communication, and then you can send specifically that lead to specific sales representative, and then they can hand over them and follow up with that specific salesperson. So that's very important as well. If you have like a big sales team, let's say, or even if you have a small sales team, you want to optimize their processes and also their resources. So as a marketing team, it's very important for you to hand over in the right way. I remember one of my mentors in the past. So he opened up with me this topic, which was super interesting for me. He said that if sales doesn't convert that lead, 60-70% is because of the fault of the marketing team as well. Because after that, I really started thinking about that more collective and see that it's my also responsibility if the salesperson converts this lead. Because I'm doing the handover of the lead to the sales team, it's very important for me to lead and give salespeople right leads, and it's very important to give the right leads on the right time as well. So it's really heavily depending on the marketing work as well. So
Mhm.
marketeers out there, don't think it's only salespeople's role to convert sales lead to customer. It's also partially, not even partially, more than partially, your responsibility to hand over good quality leads. So sales team can nurture them in the right way and spend optimized time for that. So just a bit of mindset change on that will be helpful, because a lot of marketeers just hand over the lead and they're like, whatever sales team does, it's already on their plate. But marketeers need to remember that it's a holistic process, and this is more cooperation between sales and marketing.
Yeah, and also like adding the data, like
Yeah.
as many information as they can. Like for the webinar leads, adding the engagement signals, engagement data is so important. Like who
Mhm.
attended, who clicked the links, the CTAs, who stayed the whole time, the
Exactly.
poll answers, chat engagement. All this should go to your CRM automatically. That means like your sales team can see real-time engagement in contact records and in timeline events, segment
Mhm.
leads instantly based on behavior, trigger workflows and automations for personalized follow-ups, and apply lead scoring, like automate all this process, report and visualize webinar performance, everything. And as a result, webinar engagement becomes actionable insight, not just like a list of
Yeah.
names. And you are not just passing an email and a name and saying, oh, follow up with this lead. this person signed up for the webinar.
Absolutely. And also one important thing here, it's important to get a feedback from sales team as well. And as you mentioned, it's important that sales team also leaves their feedback at HubSpot or anywhere like your CRM, doesn't matter. So marketing team can also learn from that feedback. So they also optimize their lead research process and also optimize their lead generation process. So it needs to be in the loop. So this
Yeah.
is something actually we're trying to set up right now more cohesively at Iris. So the sales team actually gives this feedback and the marketing team reacts and proactively like works with that feedback. Because that's really important, the cooperation, as I also mentioned, between the sales marketing in this lead research process.
Yeah. And with that, I want to run the last poll,
Mhm.
which is about this topic. If our audience is using behavior signals to personalize outreach, uh, let's see. We have the answers yes, sometimes, no, but we should, no, what's that? So let's see. Anyone? Okay, no, but we should. Yes, you should. I like this honesty. Okay. Liana, what do you think like is
Yeah.
the simplest way to start collecting and using behavior signals without like overcomplicating things?
So right now we also try to use their website behavior. So that's the data we are trying to use the most. I
Okay.
told you about HIP, and I told you actually we use Hotjar for that.
Mhm. Yeah.
But that's how we use for behavior, like to see at what areas like people spend more time to on. But also there is one thing, interesting thing as well. So you maybe heard about Loom, so the
Yeah.
video
Yeah. Yeah.
tool. So it gives you analytics also how long a user watched the video. So sometimes, for example, when we do outreaches or we use some videos, we like also getting the data so we understand at what moment people left. So we see the engagement and which parts was in the peak. So we see the behavior as well in that sense, like their interest towards specific features, towards specific areas. So we are heavily actually working also on this video
Mhm.
behavior understanding. So that's something I will suggest as well, audience to consider.
Nice. Okay, we have the answers.
Mm.
Most of them answered no, but we should. So yeah, if you follow the workflow, you will. It
So
will be
this
very
was inspiring, see,
good.
for the audience. Yeah, perfect. And I think we can wrap up because I have just the last things to share here. My main three takeaways from this webinar really is to inspire and to tell the audience try to use not a lot of tools, but try to select the right tool specifically for any process you are working with. For example, for lead research, I'm trying to keep everything together with HubSpot and Make.com. And right now, I'm even trying to eliminate relevance because Make.com gives opportunity to create agents, and I just want to use that for building the agents. So try to use the right tools and try to not be overwhelmed with a lot of tools because right now it's so easy to get lost with a lot of AI tools coming up every week. And then you're like, oh, which one I need to select, which one I need to test. So that's one of my advice. The second one is really concentrate if you are working in marketing, if you're working in sales, more on hyper personalization, giving your user more relevant information, more useful, so you still can capture them. They still will see the value in your product, in your community, in your company. So that's very important. And then the last one, integrate AI in a strategic way. Just don't think first AI and then the strategy. Think first strategy and then AI. Think that's why I showed you even B2B lead generation process. Start with that, like a bigger picture, and then see where you want to integrate your AI. Start bigger, understand what is the lead research, what you want to get the info, and then think, okay, how AI can support this, how AI can help. Because I see again, like I talk with a lot of companies, a lot of teams. People start with AI. People just get the AI tool and they're like, okay, what we can do here, and then identify use case. While it's better to start with a use case and then start to integrate AI. But this is like three main takeaways, more like personal level and also professional level I would like to take away from this webinar. And whenever you have like a problem or some challenges with this process, you're more than welcome to connect with me after this webinar on LinkedIn. I'm more than happy to have a one-on-one session with you and then discuss your own company's challenges, your own processes, because I'm really passionate about just AI and marketing integration part. And thanks, Lucine and Contrast again for giving this space to kind of show a small part of that. And I hope it can be useful for the audience. That are here together with us.
Of course, it was very useful. There was a lot of info. Thank you so much,
Mm.
Liana. If you're ready, we can jump into the questions. I see we have
Yeah.
some questions from our audience. So, where do you get the raw data from? This is about the raw data, about the leads to have the segmentations. Example,
Yeah.
the psychological info.
Yeah, so the raw data about list segmentation. Yeah, so that's again, as I mentioned, one is from the website. So people who are visiting your website, you can actually track that and then you can make some segmentation based on that. The other one is running advertising. So then you're getting information from that. We use, for example, LinkedIn and Meta for that as well. And the other process is, of course, when you have the lead magnet and you bring people to fill your form, and then after that, you get this raw data and you collect that in the form as we discussed here, and then you proceed.
Perfect. The next one, does your tools and workflow include access to closed source data? For example, research articles, Facebook, LinkedIn posts, etc.
So actually make.com agent, when you build, you can connect some sources, whatever you want that, for example, that agent goes and finds information. It's very important if it's a public information, of course. And for example, that's why I use Crunchbase, because they give a lot of public information that's valuable for firmographics. But you need to be very specific if these research articles are even public. However, for example, even at Iris, we have a specific tool for research articles that can extract specific data important. So in case you are more interested in that area, I'm more than happy to show you that. But you need to be careful to see if it's public info in the way, because there is a lot of privacy, of course, involved in the data.
Amazing.
So
Next
this
one.
related to that. I like to be like, that is just direct, short and sweet. So
Yeah,
not to go all over the topic. So we also
yeah.
cover other questions.
I understood that from your
Yeah.
presentation. It was so
Yeah.
like
So
step by
I'm a
step. You just
personally,
listen.
yeah. I'm a personally at work, even when we talk, I'm just a doer. I like, instead of like thinking about a lot of things or just talking a lot, just do it and then just show the steps that actually worked out. The results are the most important.
I love that. Okay, next question. Does this work if your form has just one field asking for the phone number?
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. So you can create this form as you want. So the idea is, I was even trying to make it as small as possible, so I can see if that works with just email, name, and surname. And actually, this Ben AI's relevance AI agent perfectly works just with that info. So even when you start making the form bigger and bigger, like let's say you add the phone number, you add like a company name, you add, let's say, even company industry. So it will, of course, make the research easier even. So definitely you can try the phone number, because there are some sources people just put their phone numbers publicly, like their personal websites or the company websites. So that can help to find the info.
Okay, that's helpful. And the last question for now, do you ask your agents to score the quality of their enrichments to find hallucinations?
So actually, the only quality, like the score, no, I don't do this, but this is super interesting. I will check this out. But right now, no, I'm not actually
Okay.
doing this, because
Okay.
the only way I use it is like how the HubSpot lead scoring in that sense, like to understand actually the quality of that content. But I don't do it exactly with the agent. I do it with the final output of the agents that they provided.
Okay. I think. Wait.
I love these animations, how everything like a pops up. It keeps everything entertaining.
Yeah. Okay, let's mm, let me just check the chat to see if there are
Hmm.
any other questions. This one is done. I think we are done with the questions. I don't see any more questions, just okay, I'm just trying to get the question from Oz to remove it from the stage. But do you have anything to add, Liana, before we wrap up?
No, I think everything was covered, what I wanted to share. If you want to read this use case, actually, I have published it in the AI Habit series on my LinkedIn. And even though if you don't have now questions, but for example, if you start the workflow and the process, you might have more questions there because, when you start actually digging and creating the flows, then the questions come up. So you're more than free. Please just contact me. And again, just want to say thank you for this invitation. I will continue following, guys, your content. It's lovely again to see it growing. But yeah, nothing else from me.
Thanks so much, Liana. And this was actually the last webinar of the year. At Contrast, we'll see you in 2026. So, yeah, go out there, start turning those leads into opportunities, and enjoy the holiday break. Thanks, everyone, and bye.
Bye. Thanks
Next
for hanging
year.
out with us.